History. The Ongi, one of the other indigenous peoples of the Andamans, were aware of North Sentinel Island's existence. Their traditional name for the island is Chia Dakwakwea. They also have strong cultural similarities with what little has been remotely observed amongst the Sentinelese. However, Ongis brought to North Sentinel Island by the British during the 19th century could not understand the language spoken by the North Sentinelese. As such, a significant period of separation is likely. British surveyor John Ritchie observed a multitude of lights from an East India Company hydrographic survey vessel, the Diligent, as it passed by the island in 1771. Humphrey, an administrator, traveled to the island in March 1867. Towards the end of the same year's summer monsoon season, Nineveh, an Indian merchant ship, was wrecked on a reef near the island. The 106 surviving passengers and crewmen landed on the beach in the ship's boat and fended off attacks by the Sentinelese. They were eventually found by a Royal Navy rescue party. Portman's expeditions. An expedition led by Maurice Vidal Portman, a government administrator who hoped to research the natives and their customs, landed on North Sentinel Island in January 1880. The group found a network of pathways and several small abandoned villages. After several days, 6 Sentinelese, an elderly couple, and 4 children, were taken to Port Blair. The colonial officer in charge of the operation wrote that the entire group sickened rapidly, and the old man and his wife died, so the 4 children were sent back to their home with quantities of presents. A second landing was made by Portman on the 27th of August, 1883, after the eruption of Krakatoa was mistaken for gunfire and interpreted as the distress signal of a ship. A search party landed on the island and left gifts before returning to Port Blair. Portman visited the island several more times between January 1885 and January 1887. After Indian independence, early landings. Indian exploratory parties under orders to establish friendly relations with the Sentinelese made brief landings on the island every few years beginning in 1967. In 1975, Leopold III of Belgium, on a tour of the Andamans, was taken by local dignitaries for an overnight cruise to the waters off North Sentinel Island. Shipwrecks. The cargo ship MV Rusley ran aground on coastal reefs in mid-1977, and the MV Primrose did so on the 2nd of August 1981. After the Primrose grounded on the North Sentinel Island reef, crewmen several days later noticed that some men carrying spears and arrows were building boats on the beach. The captain of Primrose radioed for an urgent drop of firearms so his crew could defend themselves. They did not receive any because a large storm stopped other ships from reaching them. But the heavy seas also prevented the islanders from approaching the ship. A week later, the crewmen were rescued by a helicopter under contract to the Indian Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, ONGC. The Sentinelese are known to have scavenged both shipwrecks for iron. Settlers from Port Blair also visited the sites to recover the cargo. In 1991, salvage operators were authorized to dismantle the ships.